Hey, it's Hawken with Topdon, and today we're going to do a video explaining battery replacement, relearning, and coding for Volkswagen and Audi vehicles. Now you're probably asking yourself, why are we going to talk about this specific group of vehicles? Well, the short answer is these vehicles are a little bit different from some of the other vehicles you might run into. Now, you're also going to ask yourself, why do I need to be concerned about battery relearning or coding for these vehicles? And we're going to get into that and give you a bit of an explanation here. So, it's important to understand that the modern vehicle employs a different style of charging than some of the older vehicles that you may be familiar with. Modern vehicles now employ smart charging or intelligent charging algorithms to manage the state of charge of the battery, the state of health of the battery, load management for all the different electronics that are on the vehicle, and also determining whether or not the vehicle has a parasitic draw. All of these things are controlled and managed by modules within the vehicle. So it's important to understand why the coding or resetting or relearning of the battery status is crucial to the proper operation of the electrical system of the vehicle. So let's go ahead and go back to our slide deck here and we'll give you a little bit more of an explanation. So, when we are replacing a battery on a vehicle, it is extremely important that we understand we need to make sure we are selecting the appropriate battery for the vehicle first. Now, if you are a professional shop and you are performing the replacement on a Volkswagen Audi vehicle, you can use a couple of different websites to determine the proper battery in the vehicle. Partslink24.com or repairlinkshop.com. For professional shops, you can put the VIN number into the vehicle, and in many cases you can determine what the correct battery was from the factory. If you do not find the information in those resources, then a phone call to your local dealer with your VIN number should allow you to determine what the correct battery is. We need to make sure that it is matching the same amp hours as the vehicle had from the factory. The cold cranking amps rating should be very similar, and the chemistry type, in other words, AGM or lead acid, should match with what the original equipment of the vehicle was. Why is this important? Because the vehicle makes a number of assumptions as it tries to manage and modulate the charging strategy for the battery. If that assumption is false, in other words, if it thinks it has a lead acid battery installed and instead you install an AGM, this can actually cause problems with the vehicle electrical system. So, some other things that we're going to want to keep in mind when we are doing battery replacement: we want to make sure we're doing a full system scan before we proceed with any process on the vehicle, any battery replacement or other repairs, and we want to save that pre-scan of all systems. We also want to do a post-scan when we're all done with the battery replacement procedure and we have completed all the necessary relearns of all various components, coding and relearning of the battery, and verified the starting and charging system is in a good state of health after we have replaced the battery and performed the necessary relearn procedures. We also want to make sure that there are no additional codes that have come up in the vehicle after we have completed the battery replacement and the relearn procedure. So this would also involve doing a quick test drive just to make sure that there are no new codes in the vehicle as a direct result of something that may have gone wrong during the battery replacement procedure. So again, these are all important foundational principles we want to keep in mind anytime we are doing a battery replacement on Volkswagen Audi. Of course, many of these principles, if not all of them, will apply to every vehicle you run into as a general rule. Here's just an example of how you can see what battery is outfitted in a Volkswagen or Audi. The big picture that you can see here maximized is from Partslink24. If we put the VIN number into partslink24.com, as a professional shop, we can view the amp hour rating of the battery and the specific part number from the manufacturer. We can then call our dealership and ask them if this was a lead acid or absorbed glass mat AGM battery, and then we know what the appropriate battery is to install in the vehicle. You see on RepairLink in the smaller picture on the bottom right, it gives us a bunch of different possible batteries for this vehicle. Now, it does give us information on the amp hour ratings and such, but it doesn't tell us which one is appropriate for the vehicle. Now, if you're a consumer, you simply want to call your dealer, provide them with your VIN number, and ask them for the appropriate battery amp hour rating and the chemistry of the original equipment battery. Those are the two pieces of information you will need. So why does this have to be carried out? This is a question we get all the time with regards to these charging systems. There are a number of reasons why this has to be performed, but the most important we have listed here. There are modules that are in charge of monitoring and managing the battery's state of health and state of charge. They control the behavior of the vehicle's alternator, they optimize the battery state of charge and state of health, and they also manage load management in some situations. So the behavior of electrical consumers, such as the radio, the blower motor, and so on and so forth. All of these are decisions that are made by a control module, and that module has to have what we would define as known good information. If we give that module bad information, such as we replace the battery with a new battery, and we do not tell the module that the battery has been replaced, it will not change the strategy that it charges the battery with. Now, as a battery wears out over time, the response of the battery to the charging voltage as well as the amperage is going to change. So if we put a new battery in and we do not perform this procedure, the new battery may be damaged because the module that is in charge of charging the battery and making decisions about how the alternator charges the battery may overcharge the battery because the battery that it has installed is a new battery and will respond differently than a tired or worn out battery. So again, very crucial that this relearn/coding procedure gets performed when the new battery has been installed. It also uses this information to help it determine and calculate if there is a parasitic draw on the vehicle system. Now, when you have a new battery that you have purchased, it's very important to understand that we need to charge the battery before we install the battery in the vehicle. Brand new batteries that sit on the shelf for an extended period of time are not always fully charged. So you can use a T90,000, such as we have here in the picture, or we can use a T30,000, or you can purchase a battery charger of your choice, as long as it is compatible with the appropriate chemistry of the battery that you are going to be charging. Now in this case, this battery is an absorbed glass mat, or AGM. We've got our little temperature sensor we've set here on the battery to make sure that everything is safe. We have our clamps connected in the appropriate positions. We've got our charger set up. We're going to make sure we switch it to AGM mode, which you can see right here it is. And then we're simply going to hit start. And it's not going to charge very much because this particular battery is already at 12.7 volts. So many of the times when you get a brand new battery, you may connect it and find a much lower voltage of 12.4, 12.3. That typically indicates that the parts store or the dealership has not been maintaining the battery while it has been sitting on the shelf. This is a big deal, right? We also want to pay special attention to any stickers that are on the battery. They're usually somewhere on the top that will tell us when the battery was manufactured. Generally speaking, we want to try to avoid purchasing any battery that is over 12 months old on the shelf. We want to look for a battery that's less than 12 months old on the shelf, and we want to make sure that that voltage on the battery is not very low. In other words, we want it somewhere in the 12.6 to 12.8 range when we go to hook it up to our charger. If it is lower than that, I would suggest you take the battery back to the retailer and ask for a fresher or newer battery. Once we have charged the brand new battery, we can go ahead and install it in the vehicle, and then we can proceed with the coding procedure or relearn procedure of the battery. Remember, as we go through that process, we had to do our research prior to undergoing this process and understand what other relearns may be required after we replace the battery. So again, this might include things like power window relearns, sunroof relearns, moonroof relearns. There may be an auto start stop function that has to be relearned after battery replacement. there are any number of possible functions that have to be reset or relearned after the battery has been replaced and coded or relearned to the vehicle. You always want to check and see what your specific vehicle requires. Service information may have this information. Sometimes you will have to do additional research in order to find this out. I will say Volkswagen and Audi is very often very good at setting fault codes if something has not been relearned appropriately. So, once we've completed the relearn, we will scan the vehicle for codes again. So now that we've done all this, we're going to go ahead and show you some of the tools that can do the relearn procedure on the vehicle after we have installed this brand new battery. So from left to right, we have the TopScan on the top left, we have the UltraDiag in the middle, and we have the ArtiDiag 600S on the right. Each of these tools is fully capable of performing the relearn procedure. Today we're going to show you all three of them in sequence, and you'll be able to get a feel for how this process works on each of these tools on a Volkswagen or Audi vehicle. So the first tool we're going to show you here is actually going to be the UltraDiag. So we'll show you the screen. Here's the main screen on the UltraDiag. Now we've got the dongle installed in the car, and we're going to go ahead and we are going to connect our Topdon T90000 here to the vehicle in order to maintain a steady voltage while performing the coding procedure on the vehicle. Okay, so we've got the T90000 connected. It's in supply mode. We're going to turn the key on engine off. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to hit the maintenance button on the screen here. And we're going to hit BMS for battery management system. We're going to hit VIN, auto VIN. You can see our voltage is nice and high and steady on the top right corner, right here. We're going to ID the vehicle. It is a 2.0 non-turbo CBPA. Going to hit OK. Now, when you are working on Volkswagen Audi, you will have two options as far as where the relearn procedure is performed. It will always be, or should I say, almost always be, in address word 19 for gateway or 61 for battery regulation. I wouldn't say always, but almost always. So if you're not sure which address you need to go into, simply tap on one. If it is not the appropriate address, you will get a message saying the selected function is not supported, in which case we simply try the other address. And then you will see a menu like this. So you notice in this menu, we have a couple of pieces of information that we can edit. The battery rated capacity. So this is in amp hours. So the original equipment on the vehicle was 70 amp hours, assuming this has never been reset, relearned, or programmed to the vehicle previously. So we want to make sure we enter in the appropriate information here. Now, here is something that you probably do not know. After we enter in the amp hours correctly, the manufacturer drop-down will actually not cover all of the different manufacturers that exist. And the module that is in charge of the charging strategy does not actually care about the battery manufacturer. You can enter this information in if you want to, but this part of the process is not crucial. The amp hours part of the process is crucial. The other part that matters is the battery serial number. Now, you're asking yourself, wait a minute, I bought an aftermarket battery. There is no battery serial number on this battery. That's not a problem. When you are in this menu, the only thing that the control module cares about is change. So all you have to do is change the number. As long as it sees that the number has changed, the control module understands that the battery has been replaced. So now we can hit confirm. Done. Now the vehicle knows, oh, we have a new battery. You notice how it also tells us if the new battery has different technology. Now they're referring to the chemistry. So that would be absorbed glass mat versus lead acid. This is why if you are going to do a basic replacement of the battery, you need to match the chemistry of the original battery. If you want to change the chemistry, this is a little bit more complicated and we're not going to cover that in this video. So just keep in mind, you have to install the same chemistry and you have to install the same amp hours or higher, and then you must change the value for the amp hours if you install a higher value. You cannot install a lower amp hour battery in the vehicle, as this may result in electrical system problems. So we've completed the relearn, and that's literally all we have to do other than our relearn procedures on the windows and other various equipment. Okay, so we're back on the main screen. This is the ArtiDiag 600S. We're going to hit the maintenance button here. We are then going to hit BMS for battery management system. We're going to hit VIN or auto VIN, which is what we usually are going to do on vehicles if we can. Save us a little bit of time. Then we need to choose the appropriate engine after we confirm the VIN. And then we're going to hit OK. So now you'll see you have two options in most cases. You'll have address word 19 or address word 61. If you're not sure which one to choose, it's pretty straightforward. All you have to do is try one, and if it does not work, try the other. Okay, so we were successful in getting into 61. You see here we have some information. Now each of these fields has some meaning. The first field is the amp hours of the battery. When you are installing a new battery in a Volkswagen or Audi, you need to make sure that you are choosing a battery that matches the same number of amp hours or is higher in amp hours than the original equipment. Then we need to change the value appropriately to accommodate the change. Then we have the maker of the battery, and we'll get into that in the next screen, and then the serial number for the battery. We're going to hit setting because we have to change this. The amp hours of the new battery is the same as the old battery, so no change is required here. Battery manufacturer, you have some choices here, and this won't cover all of the batteries that are sold necessarily in your area. That's not a big deal. The module that's in charge of the battery management does not actually care about this, so it doesn't really matter what we enter in here. Now, this is the part that the module does care about. We need to change the serial number by 1 digit in order for the module to register that the battery has been changed in the vehicle. It doesn't matter what we change it to, it simply has to be different than what the original value was. Once we're done, we hit confirm. You can see the values that we said we want to write, and now we'll hit done. It'll write the information. It says it was successfully transferred. It also warns us that if we changed battery technology, so that means AGM to lead acid or lead acid to AGM, there is additional work that's required to communicate this to the control module. This is a more advanced procedure, and we are not going to cover this in this video. So again, it's absolutely crucial. If you're just going to do a simple replacement, you need to make sure the battery technology is the same. In other words, if you have an AGM in the vehicle from the factory, you need to install an AGM again. And you need to make sure that the amp hour rating of the battery is at least the same as the original equipment battery or higher. And then you must program that accordingly to the module when performing this procedure. Now we have completed our relearn procedure, and we can be done with this vehicle. Save any relearns we need to perform on windows, power sunroof, power moonroof, anything of that nature that might require relearn procedures after battery disconnection. Okay, in this video we are going to take you through the battery relearning / recoding on Volkswagen Audi vehicles using the TopScan dongle with your Top Guru or TopScan app. Now on this video, we're going to do it on the Top Guru app, which is being used on an iPad, but the workflow would be the same on the iPhone and generally going to look the same on the Android app as well. So we're going to be on the main screen here, and we're going to go into the maintenance menu, and we're going to scroll down and hit BMS for Battery Management System. And then we're going to use the search function at the very top. Tried scrolling through, and instead we're going to search, and we're just going to type in VW, and we're going to click VW and then click Automatic. Then we're going to click Read for reading the VIN. We're going to confirm the VIN, select the appropriate engine, confirm the vehicle build, and then when we go to do the relearn procedure, we are simply going to choose one option, then the other. So if we try address word 19 and it does not work, we will just get a message saying that this function is not supported. And instead, we will go back and try address word 61, which is the appropriate address word for this particular vehicle. Here we see there's some information about the battery. We have the amp hours on the top, we have the battery manufacturer in the middle, and the battery serial number at the bottom. Now, the amp hours, you need to select a battery that is equal to or greater than the amp hours for your vehicle's original equipment. So if your vehicle's original equipment was 70, then you need to purchase a battery with at least 70 amp hours or greater rating. You can check with the dealership as far as what your original equipment battery was, or if you are a professional shop, you can use RepairLink shop.com or partslink24.com to confirm the battery equipment in most cases. Partslink24.com definitely has this information. RepairLinkShop.com may or may not have this information. So let's go ahead and we'll go through the rest of the menus here so you can see. So we're going to hit Setting on the bottom right here. We're going to leave the amp hour capacity the same, as it does not change in this particular case. We replace this battery with a battery with the same number of amp hours, but we do need to change this if we are increasing the amp hours. Again, we do not want to install a battery with a lower amp hour rating at any point in time, as this can be bad for the vehicle electrical system. Now, as far as the battery manufacturer, the module in charge of the battery management system doesn't actually care what the manufacturer is, so you can enter in any of these and that is just fine. We're just going to leave it as Xide in this case. Now this is the part that the battery management system does care about. It needs to see a change in the serial number. It doesn't matter what you change it to as long as it's different from the previous value. This is how the module knows that the battery has been replaced, and this is what resets the charging algorithm for the battery management system. So once we have completed this, we're going to hit Done, and it's going to save the data. Now you will also see that the information is telling us we need to make sure we're using the same technology as the original battery. So they're talking about the chemistry. So if we're talking about AGM was the original battery, then we need to install an AGM battery. If the original battery was a lead acid battery, then we need to make sure we install a lead acid battery in the vehicle. There are ways to change this in the coding of the vehicle, but that is not something we are going to cover in this particular video today. So again, make sure you are in fact using the exact same type of chemistry battery as the original equipment. Again, if you do not know what the original equipment was, make sure you call your dealer and give them your VIN number and ask for this information. Do not trust that the battery that is installed in the vehicle currently was the correct or is the correct battery for the vehicle. Always contact your local dealer or use partslink24.com to determine this information. As far as the battery chemistry goes, typically you will have to call the dealer for this information in order to verify what the original equipment battery chemistry was. So once we've completed this process with the TopScan app or Top Guru app,
Now, the only thing left to do on the vehicle at this point would be to complete any other appropriate relearns, such as window position relearns, sunroof, moonroof, so on and so forth. So, hopefully you have more comfortability doing this procedure on your Volkswagen or Audi vehicle now. Thanks for watching this short video on how to do the battery management reset procedure on a Volkswagen Audi with the TopScan or Top Guru app.
Hey, it's Hawken again with Topdon, and just wanted to thank you for taking the time to watch our video on battery coding and relearning for Volkswagen Audi vehicles. If you have questions, feel free to send them to us on our YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe, and of course share our videos as you see appropriate. We always appreciate you taking the time to watch the videos. Thanks again. Have a great day.